Wow, great. Amazing. It is a wondrous thing. It is a wondrous thing to get a standing ovation before your speech. So thank you so much. I have loved this organization for so long. My heart is really important to me. And you all are making it beat very loudly and very pounding up here. I want to thank you so much, all of you sponsors, benefactors, Larry and Karen. Oh my gosh, I wish I was up here before they had the auction. I would have convinced you guys to add another 0 to this. Because Larry and Karen, oh my gosh, you know, to match those funds is amazing. Thank you. And thank everybody for being here and supporting this. Thanks to the champagne. How many of you are champagne drinkers out there right now? Woo! You become like Adlai Stevenson once said. You don't even know who Adlai Stevenson is. That just shows you how old I am. Anyway, he said, you're my favorite audience, one that is highly intelligent, incredibly motivated, and slightly inebriated. So we're going to pump a little bit today. You know, I often, yesterday I was thinking about what I was going to say to you all. And what I decided I was going to do is I'm going to get up on the stage and I was going to say, my objective today is to save a life. And then I thought, my objective is to give you the opportunity to save your own life. That's what I want to do here. I want everybody in this room to save their own lives. And I want to tell you how. It's going to be a matter of opportunity. I'm not going to make you run, I promise. Well, maybe a little. But basically, this story is about opportunity. And that's the thing we have to look at in ourselves and in everybody we work with and to create. We have such an amazing experience. I want to tell you first about a wonderful woman I met last night. And she's going to help you in this wonderful town, Fort Worth, create opportunities because she's like Field of Dreams. Build it and they'll come. Remember that film, Build It and They'll Come? You have a wonderful mayor in one Betsy Price. And I'll tell you something. She's a woman of honor. She's a woman of honor. She's a woman of action and a woman of honor. We started talking last night, and between the two of us, we had decided we could save the world in about 2 weeks. And Betsy, I said to Betsy Price, you may not remember because you're not old enough to da-da-da. And she said, what are you talking about? I'm older than you are. And I said, no, you're not older than I am. And she said, yes, I am. And I said, no, you're not. And I said, I'll bet you $10. And she said, I'll take that bet. And I said, I want cash. I want cash because I know I'm going to win this bet. And she said, I'm 68. And I said, I'm 71. So I've got Betsy Price's $10, which was delivered to my table, all right? And I'm going to add a couple of zeros, and I'll put that in there for go red. So thank you guys so much. Betsy's going to a good cause. What I'm talking about with Betsy Price is she has built some amazing, amazing things around here for you guys, which give you access to health and fitness. You know, you can talk about things, but if you don't have the opportunity to take part, it's not going to happen. You need greenways. You need places to walk. You need events to make it happen. You need things where people don't smoke. You need events where you're fun and you have encouragement. You need other people who are doing things. You need groups of people who get out walking and running and biking and pathways to do it on. And your mayor's making it happen. I want you to support this. Please keep doing this because this is what makes a city great. Our cities are dying underneath us. I mean, I live in New York City, and New York City would be dead if we didn't have Central Park. You need these spaces. Create those spaces and engender them, make them happen, and support people who do it. I had another wonderful talk with her about how important exercise is. And I said, 45% of all cases of heart disease can be largely prevented by a simple walk a day. You don't have to be a stupid marathon runner like me, okay? I'm a little neurotic about that. But basically, if you go out for a walk for 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes you reduce your risk of heart disease by 45%. And years ago, the Surgeon General of the United States said that it is more important to go out and exercise even than smoking. The statistics are that huge on exercise. So, you know, what I want you to do is I want you to take Betsy Price's pathways and get out there and do these things. I want you to get together with your friends and move. And I want you to, if you can't do that, get a puppy, okay? Because that puppy's got to pee 3 times a day. And that'll at least get you out for 10 minutes 3 times a day, and there's your 30 minutes. But another thing is, we were talking about the importance of exercise. And Betsy said, you know, my husband and I, when we were engaged, we got out that Ken Cooper's book. We both grew up on Ken Cooper's aerobics book about how to go out and run every day and make a schedule for your running. And we started doing that, and well, we just kept up our exercise all the time, and by golly, we've been happily married for 46 years. And I said, it's not the running, it's the sex. And she said, well, how did you know about my sex life? And I said, anybody who runs with somebody for 46 years has a good sex life. And statistics have proved, ladies, this is your ultimate motivation, okay? Statistics have proved that the people who exercise together, men and women, relate the endorphins that come from exercise to the other person. So they like that person a lot more. So hence, Betsy, we want to keep you and your husband out there moving, biking, running, walking. So thank you, Betsy Price. TMI, right? Okay, sorry. So here's another opportunity story, all right? I'm going to start way back. When I was 12 years old, I came home from elementary school. We didn't have middle schools in those days. I came home from elementary school. I was still playing with dolls. I was skinny, very prepubescent, but I was going to high school in 2 months. And my father could see a very nervous little girl going into an adult world who was trying to be brave, but really didn't. To me, I wanted to be a high school cheerleader because I thought that was going to be a passport to success and popularity. And my father said, honey, you don't want to cheer for other people. You want people to cheer for you. And he said the game, and I'm sorry, cheerleaders are different now than they were, okay? But he said the game is on the field. Life is to participate, not spectate. And I said, well, Dad, he said your school has something called a field hockey team. He said, now, I don't know anything about a field hockey team. But he said, I know they run. And if you ran a mile a day, you'd be the best player on your team. And I said, oh, Dad, thanks a lot. I don't know anything about it either, and I couldn't possibly run a mile a day. Yeah, you get that from your kids all the time, right? I can't do it. Whine, whine, whine. My dad said, I know you can do it. It's not about going fast. It's not about winning. It's about finishing it, just doing it. So he helped me measure off the yard, and I went out 7 laps in a Washington, D.C. summer, which is worse than Fort Worth in the summer. Honest it is, because we've got the humidity. Anyway, it's like a swamp. And I ran this mile every day that summer as a little girl, 12 years old, struggling through the mile every day. Some days were horrible, and other days absolutely brilliant, okay? There was no rhyme or reason. And that was my first great life lesson, is you can't always predict how the day is going to go. But what happened at the end of every day that I ran, I felt wonderful, even when it went badly. In fact, by the end of the summer, I felt like king of the hill because I had a victory under my belt every day that nobody could take away from me. And it was very simple, amazing thing. I thought it was magic. You know, in 59 years of running later, it still is magic, believe me. But what happened is, of course, when I tried out for that field hockey team, I was one of the best players, not because I was skilled, but because I had conditioning. And I didn't know that. As I said, I thought it was magic. But the biggest thing that happened is I was empowered. I had a sense that I could take on any task. And what a way for a little kid to enter high school, okay? And that propelled me to try out for other things and to write for the school newspaper, where I signed my name, by the way, KV Switzer, because I wanted to be J.D. Salinger or E.E. Cummings or T.S. Eliot. Okay, so you know that there's, also because my dad had misspelled Kathrine on my birth certificate. Did you look at your program? You probably said somebody left the E out of the Kathrine. Well, that was my dad. He did that. He did that 71 years ago. But anyway, so I grew up with this empowerment that translated into just about everything I did, and allowed me to take a step here and then another step here and here and here and here, because you can't achieve up here if you can't take the first step down here. Now, the moral of the story is two things, okay? One, all of you touched the life of a child someplace, a kid, your own, a grandchild, niece or nephew, or a kid on the street. Let me tell you one thing, and those of you who are drinking champagne, listen really carefully, okay? Because if you remember nothing else from what I'm going to say in this speech, I'd like you to remember this. And that is that talent and capability is everywhere. It's everywhere. It only needs an opportunity. People can't imagine it until they do it. And every little kid needs that opportunity. Even if it's an atta-girl or an atta-boy, you create that for them. They not only grow up empowered, they grow up healthy because they realize that they can take control of their own lives. The next thing I want you to do is to realize that you deserve to give yourself this opportunity, okay? That you can do much more with your life than you ever believed you could. You're the worst judges of your own capability, trust me. We all do that. We beat ourselves up. We say we can't do something. Take the next step and do it. For me, it's running, okay? You have to choose something else, but you need to take that action. Please take control of your own life and your own health. And that comes also with believing enough in yourself to realize you deserve to do it. We give everything away, ladies. We do. The house, the hub, the kids, the dog, your job, the car, the garage door opener, the mess in the kitchen, all of those things take a priority before you go out yourself and take care of yourself and have fun. And I'm not talking about, gritty, horrible exercises, torture. I'm talking about just busting a little stress and getting out there and moving for 30 minutes, okay? That's all you need to do. You deserve it. Trust me, trust me. And it will give you everything back. It will give you everything back. Okay, so moving along with my story, what happened next? Okay, I go through life, I'm going through high school, I'm taking on all these more challenges, and when I went to university, I decided to go to Syracuse University in upstate New York because it had one of the best journalism schools in the country. And I decided to study journalism because I wanted to be a sports writer. And I wanted to be a sports writer because I knew I could never be an athlete, that it didn't exist for women. It just wasn't there. The longest distance in the Olympic Games was a mere 400 meters, one lap around the track at that time. And for professional sports, Billie Jean hadn't even started women's professional tennis for a long time, and that was it. Got to Syracuse University, this powerhouse university, 25 different sports for men. Some of them, the scholarships were like football, 180 scholarships deep. How do you need 180 scholarships for one football team? I just can't figure that out. But anyway, women had no intercollegiate sports. They had play days. Play days. What? I said, maybe I'm wrong or maybe they're wrong or something, but I don't understand why this is happening. But I said, well, at least I've got running. It's something that I can always do by myself. Just put on my shoes and go. Easy, cheap, convenient, accessible. I don't need to join a gym. I don't need to have a team. All I need to do is put on my sneakers and go outside. So anyway, I decided I would go, though, and talk to the men's track coach and ask him if I could run on the men's cross-country team. You can imagine that. Well, anyway, he said, we've never had a girl before. But if you would like to come and work out with the team, it'd be all right, but you cannot run officially on the team because it is against NCAA rules. I said, well, coach, that's good enough for me. I just would like to be part of a team and have, the camaraderie and everything. But I was very nervous. These guys were all scholarship boys, and when I showed up out on the cross-country course, I got lost every day. I got lost because they were so fast, and I couldn't keep up with them. But the neatest thing is, they were wonderful to me. They were really, really welcoming. There was one guy in particular who you saw in the video, little Arnie Briggs, a 50-year-old mailman. He wasn't even the coach of the team. He was just a volunteer coach. And he was out there helping with the team because he had been the upstate New York marathon champion for many years, but by this time, he was really old. He was 50. And he had, broken down Achilles and bad knees, and he thought his running days were behind him. And when this very slow girl showed up, he felt sorry for her, and he began running with me. Well, you saw the video. I don't have to tell the whole story, but he regaled me with the stories of the Boston Marathon until one night I said to him, I would like to run it too. And he said, oh, a woman can't run the Boston Marathon. I said, what? He said, a woman can't run the Boston Marathon. I said, why not? And he said, because women are too weak and too fragile. They can't. I said, Arnie, we're upstate New York. We're running 10 miles in the dark in a blizzard. And you're telling me I can't run a marathon? He said, 10 miles is not 26.2. And I said, I know that, but if I could train from 3 to 10, why can't I go from 10 to 20? A woman can't do that. He believed all the old myths that I told you about, okay? Like my uterus was going to fall out. He didn't want to say it. He didn't want to say it, but that's what the prevailing thinking was. Really, it was. Actually, it still is in many countries. We'll get to that later. But anyway, it's just amazing how these things exist. Finally, we argued. After I told him that I came from great pioneering stock, my family arrived in America in 1723. They were pioneers. They homesteaded. Finally, he said, all right. He said, if you would show me in practice that you could do it, I'd be the first person to take you to Boston. So, right, what's the secret of success? Somebody gives you a challenge. You have a goal. If you're lucky, you've got a coach. If you're really lucky, you've got a buddy. And I had a buddy in Arnie. And Arnie was going to run with me through thick and thin. He didn't believe. I had to prove to him. But we finally one day ran not only the marathon distance, I wanted to make sure we could get through everything at Boston. He said, we got to run another 5 miles. And he said, what? And I said, come on, let's make sure that we can cover the distance no matter what. So we ran 31 miles in practice for our test run. And Arnie passed out at the end of the workout. And when he came to, he said, women have hidden potential in endurance and stamina. And we had realized the most amazing thing, that the longer we went, the better I got. And that the guys on the cross-country team wouldn't even come out and run with us after 10 miles. He said, you guys are crazy people, they said. But the longer we got, the better I got with the guys. And pretty soon now, I was out running them at the long, long distance. Let's fast forward to now, 50 years. What have we found out? What have we scientifically found out? That women have more potential and more capability than men in endurance and stamina. And the longer it gets, the better it is for us. Men always were going to have the speed, the power, and the strength. Women have endurance, stamina, flexibility, and balance. The problem is, or the challenge, I always think of it this way, is that Olympic sports, for instance, and the sports we know now, are all about speed, power, and strength because for 3,000 years, nobody gave women an opportunity, right? Now you give women the opportunity, we're going to be creating, ladies, sports and events and things that enhance our unique capability. And who's to say what it looks like? Is it going to be a 6-day race, which already exists, like in New Zealand, where I live half the time, where 3 guys lead the team and 3 women are on the team, and the men lead it because they're going hard and fast at first, but the women inevitably bring the team home. Why? Because they're experts at sleep deprivation. They're experts at thinking when they're exhausted. They're experts at fat utilization. Love your fat. It's fuel. It gets you there, right? All the channel swimmers are women, the experts and the record holders. It's a source of fuel. And they're experts at thinking while everybody else has lost their minds. And I said, any woman who's had children could tell you this. This is not brain science. This is logic. Mother Nature has given us some very unique tools, but it's going to change the face of sport, and many of you in this room are going to do that. You're going to be creating events that we could never have imagined right now, or certainly in the past, which utilize our unique capabilities. And I think the future for this looks really good, because this is not a men versus women's thing or a women versus men's thing. This is about us together going forward using our best unique capabilities. What I imagine, just try to imagine this, in the Olympic Games, how about a relay where men's speed, power, and strength is combined with women's endurance and stamina, what we could do together. The other thing is as we play together and work out together, it's not just like Betsy Price's Good Sex Life, well, that's true too. We build communities and families who work and play together and get healthy together. Little kids are already, well, we're into the second generation of little kids who are watching mommy run every day. It's the new normal. It's not unusual. Those children are going to grow up believing that that's the way that people should be. They should be going out and exercising and putting on their sneakers and their shorts. That is really, really important. But the other thing is, of course, the sense of empowerment that everybody is having with this, and that women themselves can have these new experiences and beliefs in themselves in an area of capability they never realized before. All right, anyway, so I'm going to have to hustle here. In the Boston Marathon then, okay? Arnie helped me sign up for the race. Now we're in the race. You saw what had happened. The official was out of control. I've never seen anybody like that. I was terrified, I was embarrassed, I was scared. And for a split second, I wanted to walk off the course, because this happened in front of the press truck with everybody around in a very big event. And I just wanted to cover my eyes and get off the course and go to my mom. And then I realized if I did that, nobody would believe that women could do this. And I had trained very hard for this. I didn't want it taken away from me. And I, more than that, didn't want to always spend the rest of my life saying, well, I really could have finished it. If you really could have finished it, finish it, okay? And I made that decision to finish the race. That is the most important thing. The most important thing wasn't some kind of courage that I entered the race, okay? I was just a kid who wanted to run, honestly. The courage was to make the decision to finish. Because, believe me, a marathon is a long way. You never know the outcome of it. I had a lot of pressure on me then, and I was exhausted. When something like that happens, the adrenaline just drains out of you. And I had no expectation that it was going to come back, but I was willing to take that chance. So that's when I said to Arnie, I'm going to finish this race on my hands and my knees if I have to. A lot of times people say to me, oh, Kathrine, you were destined for this moment. Like some archangel has come down and tapped me on the head and said, you're destined. You know what? Let me tell you something. It was a series of coincidences that came together at an amazing time. That is true. But destiny is about finishing the job. Destiny is about seeing a situation that needs to be addressed and finishing the job. All of us are going to have a moment of destiny. It's going to be sometimes small things, maybe big things. Maybe a lot of you have had it, you know, with a health issue or a death or birth or whatever. Those are moments of destiny, and how you handle those things makes all the difference in your future life. And you just hope that you do the best thing. You can only do the best you can under fire, really. But when you see something that is important, like an injustice, honestly, the most important thing is to pick it up, embrace it, look at it a different way, and create a positive outcome. Sometimes just fighting it and resisting it is very difficult. Walking away from it means you've walked away from it. But almost all of us can be pioneers and game changers by taking an injustice, a simple thing, a very simple thing sometimes, and changing it into an opportunity. Please do that. Please do that with yourself. When I finished the race, I had a vision then for change. I stopped being angry at the official immediately, after 24 miles. It took me 24 miles. I murdered him for 24 miles. I murdered him every way a person could be murdered, and then you can't run 24 miles and stay mad anymore, and the anger left, okay? And then I realized he was a product of his time, and it was up to me to take this and create something out of it. And that's the way things are. You can't stay mad with these things. And in fact, because you're going to ask this question later, somebody will. He and I became, many, many years later, best friends. And I visited him just before he died, because he's a man who changed my life. And he changed millions of women's lives because of that photograph. So how could you not really love somebody who did that? So, and life is too short, by the way, not to forgive. Always remember that. If you can shed it, if you can forgive and go on, that's the most important thing, because that's when you make real progress. But anyway, by the time I finished the race, I wanted to do two things. I wanted to become a better athlete, which you heard about. That was easy. Training works. If you work hard, you get results. We all know that. But the more important thing was creating the opportunities for other women and creating them in an easy, accessible way. And so I took my journalism skills and I wrote a business proposal to what was then the world's largest cosmetics company, Avon. And we started a global series of races, which eventually went to 27 countries, 400 races, 1 million women. And I gathered the data and statistics from these races and took it to the International Olympic Committee and said, let's go. We know we deserve to be in the Olympic Games. And they tried to give me the old medical evidence of your uterus is going to fall out. And I said, look, I've got the medical evidence here. And actually, the interesting thing is that something like the short sprints and the heavy throw events are tougher for women than the distance events. So the opposite is actually the case. And what joy it was when they voted the Olympic marathon for women in 1981 for the 1984 Games. And I often say that this moment was as important as giving women the right to vote. And I don't mean that in terms of the fact that the vote in 1923 was huge. It was our intellectual and social acceptance. But imagine this, okay? Let your mind leap now. This was our physical acceptance, okay? We now had the longest event and the toughest event in the Olympic Games, just like the men, and it leveled the playing field. And that race was not just important for the 90,000 people who were in the Olympic Stadium when the first woman came in and won, Joan Benoit Samuelson from the United States, actually. But it was more important because 2.2 billion people watched it on television, and everybody knows that a marathon is a long race. You know, that everybody's ridden a donkey or a bike or driven that distance. They know it's a long way. And here were women running it. So the mental leap was massive. And that, to me, was very, very profound also, of course, in terms of women's health and capability, because it was seen everywhere. All right. What happened then? Okay? I had a career in TV and book writing and blah, 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 and then all of a sudden a really interesting thing happened. Does that look familiar? It's my old bib number from the Boston Marathon. And you can see the corner has been torn off here because on my back, I got away from the official, but as I moved away from me, he grabbed the back and ripped the corner. All right, so there it is. Suddenly, and then this is the next and final part of the story that I'm going to tell you, is in life, sometimes strange things have a lot of importance. Now, this was hard for me because I'm a real meat and potatoes kind of person, very practical. I don't believe in hooey-fooey and magnets and crystals and water beds. You know, I believe in getting down, getting your sneakers on, and going out and doing the mileage, and getting, you know, some sleep and eating well, okay? You know, I'm really very practical. So when people were sending me pictures of this bib on their backs because they were running a race, or they were showing me this number inked on their arm because it made them feel fearless, I said, it's really interesting. I wonder why this is all coming through the internet to me and all these pictures. And they all say it makes them feel fearless. When people started sending me pictures of their tattoos, I had to take it seriously. Even I had to take this seriously because I couldn't figure out what kind of synchronicity this was. But it wasn't synchronicity. It was this, is that everybody in the world relates to being told that they are not good enough, they are not welcome, they're the wrong color, they're the wrong race, they live on the wrong side of the tracks, they don't make enough money, they're not cool, or you're not pretty enough, or you're too big, or you're too fat, or you're too old, or whatever. And they'd heard that story of the girl who had that happen to her, and she went ahead and ran and did it anyway and became fearless. And they too then put on their sneakers and went out and ran and became fearless, regardless of all the stuff that people had told them otherwise. So no matter what people tell you that you don't want to hear, that's not true about you, you go and disprove it to yourself and you become fearless. This is very, very important. Really. And this number, if you can imagine, this is like the weirdest thing. I mean, so late in my life to have this happen. We've created a nonprofit foundation from this, which goes out now creating community clubs, has a wonderful, powerful communications platform, and reaches women out there who are fearless. And we fearless women are leading them into fearlessness. And how we do that is with the direct touch of community clubs. As we know, everybody out there, in your friends, if you can direct touch them and tell them something and become a friend in the simplest way, you can lead them out of despair in many ways. The sad part of my whole story today is, it's been very upbeat, this is the sad part. Most women in the world still live in a fearful situation. Most. And you think, oh, well, she's in Afghanistan, or she's in Saudi, or she's in North Africa. She might live next door to you, okay? And basically what we need to do as fearless women who are now understanding how important it is to control our own lives, we need to reach out to them. And so I really would love you to do that. 261 Fearless is going great. It's become a wonderful, young organization. It's not what I would have expected at this stage in my life. And so, ladies, what I want to tell you is life will always give you something out of left field. You may not even pay attention to it, but pay attention to it sometimes because it can be profoundly game-changing. And the last and final thing is, it's not over until it's over. Who would have believed that 50 years after I first ran the Boston Marathon, that I would wake up one day and say, you're still in pretty good shape, old girl. Why don't you just, for fun, run the Boston Marathon for your 50th anniversary? And I'd run the broadcast of the race ever since TV was invented at Boston. So I'd done the broadcast for 37 consecutive years. And then I decided, I think I'll run it. And we were just getting ready to put 261 Fearless together as an organization. I said, hey, we could use that as a great fundraiser. We could raise some money for the kickoff of this foundation with charity bibs. And so, indeed, I did. And I'd like you to take a look at a last film clip now. It's only 1 minute. And just to use this as a little reminder to you that in life, you're never too old, you're never too slow, you're never too big, you're never too daunted to take the next step and try to do it again. Take a look. Go.
As Kathrine Switzer fires the gun, sending a field of elite women running into the streets, she remembers a time 50 years ago when that seemed impossible.
It was thought if you did anything arduous, you're going to get big legs, grow hair on your chest, turn into a man, your uterus was going to fall out.
In 1967, when she told a men's track coach she wanted to run the Boston Marathon,
he said, "No dame ever ran no marathon."
Switzer registered with her initials, KV, and pinned on bib 261. 2 miles in, somebody on the press bus spotted her, and race director Jock Semple ran onto the course.
He grabbed me like this and he threw me back and he said, "Get the hell out of my race and give me those numbers," and tried to pull my bib numbers off.
Switzer's boyfriend knocked him away, and she kept running.
I said, "I'm going to finish this race on my hands and my knees if I have to."
In that moment, Switzer changed the course of women's running. She's since run 39 marathons. And she founded 261 Fearless, a nonprofit for women runners around the world, encouraging them to do the impossible.
Once they start running, they realize they can do so much more than they ever believed, and they can get a better job, or they can get an education, or they can leave a bad relationship.
Or even keep running at 70, like Switzer, competing again today, a half-century after the first time.
I just ran the fastest marathon I've run in 46 years.
The woman who started it all, not finished yet. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, Boston.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for today, for everything you're doing. And just my final word, give yourself the opportunity. Thank you, thank you. Thank you.